Welcome to Christian Answers. This is Pastor Jeff Short, your Bible teacher and cultural analyst. And today we're going to be looking at another piece of insanity coming this time from Australia, where they are ruling that a man who is dressing up like a woman is now legally a woman. And they're saying that he has all of the rights and privileges of any women out in society. He can join any group, he can join any club, that he cannot be barred by any kind of private or public law that says that only women can attend. He can attend because he is a woman considered by the Supreme Court of Australia. It's just really absurd. It's stupid. It's dumb. As Christians, we just sit back and watch the comedy and the insanity happen before our very eyes, and we think, what is going to be happening in 5, 10, 15, 20 years if this foolishness does not stop? Now, we as Christians, we have the Bible, we have the standard, we know what truth is. God has revealed his truth. He said in the beginning, in Genesis, he said, in the beginning God created the male and female, and he created the gender binary. Male, female, man, woman. And this gender bending, gender swapping, transvestitism that we see in our society today is totally against the will of God. This confusion, this gender chaos that we see today is the direct result of man's rebellion against God. God has established male and female right from the beginning in Genesis, right from the beginning of creation of humanity. And yet today, the rebellion is so rebellious is that they want to obliterate any clear demarcations between men and women. That's the goal. They cannot abide by God's plan. They cannot abide by the gender binary. They have to destroy every single universal basic truth so that they can make society into their own will. That's the secular humanistic vision for today. And these secular people are taking it to such an extreme, is that now this women's app, this women's conversation app now cannot bar men from using it. It's just the height of absurdity, but we'll talk about it and we'll point this out and we'll make sure that everybody understands that this is contrary to God's will as revealed in the Bible. So let's start in with this article from the BBC News, found in Yahoo News. It says, Australian court rules in favor in landmark case that asks, what is a woman? Okay, so they're going to tackle that question. It's been such a perplexing question for the secular humanists to answer. The LGBTQ people, it's so hard for them to answer this question because they don't want to say this, because if they say this, then they can't say that. And if they define a woman too strictly, then that leaves out all these men who want to identify as women. And so they have to be vague, they have to be fuzzy, they have to equivocate, they have to basically make such vague generalities that there's no definition of a woman. So most of the secular, humanistic, liberal, leftist, Democrats, modernists say, well, a woman is whoever identifies as a woman. That's what they usually come down on because there's no fixed standards for them. There's no higher authority than just whatever human opinion is. And so that's basically the avenue they're going to take. But in the Australian Supreme Court, they've actually taken more of a argument from authority. They're going to basically come down and say, well, our court defines a woman as this, and so that's what it is, and leave it at that. They're just going to take a power dynamic court authority and just say, this is what we rule, and this is what a woman is. We declare that this man is a woman, so in this case, he is a woman. So they're just going to take the raw authority, raw power, argument from authority and say, don't ask us why, this is just our prerogative, we can define what we want. So that's what they're going to do. Now, if you look at this man, this dude, this Australian, if you look at him, you can tell that he's a man. You don't have to have any special skills. He's a man dressed as a woman. He's got big hands. He's got a masculine face. He's got all the physical characteristics of a man that is wearing women's clothes. And so I guess society is supposed to just put up with this and listen to him and take him seriously instead of mocking him and laughing at him. That's what really needs to happen in a really healthy society. Everybody would be laughing at this man and joking at this man and shaming this man so much that he would have to straighten up and be a man, which he is, and put away this nonsense of dressing like a woman. And he would have to take so much social ridicule. That would be a healthy society. We don't live in a healthy world anymore. We live in an insane, foolish world. And so people like this crowd, I guess, take him very seriously. And the courts now are reinforcing the insanity. It says a transgender woman, which is actually a man dressing like a woman, from Australia, has won a discrimination case against a woman-only social media app after he was denied access on the basis of being male. So I'm not going to use these foolish, irrational gender pronouns that make no sense and do not reflect reality. I'm not going to use that. So this article, these authors, they're going to be real hip and cool, and they're going to be with it, and they think they're so 21st century that they're going to use all the preferred pronouns. Well, I'm not going to do that. A transgender woman, i.e. a man, from Australia has won a discrimination case against a woman-only social media app after he was denied access on the basis of being male. So there's an app, and it's only women, but he wants to be part of the Only Women app. The federal court found that although Roxanne Tickle, that's his new name, Roxanne Tickle, had not been directly discriminated against, he was a victim of indirect discrimination. Indirect discrimination now, which refers to when a decision disadvantages a person with a particular attribute, and ordered the app to pay him 10,000 Australian dollars plus cost. So the court ruled in favor of the man dressed like a woman. So it just shows you the insanity of our times. Even the highest authorities, remind yourself, courts are supposed to be deliberative bodies. They sit down and they rationally, calmly, with forethought, look into issues and make sense of it. While all the emotionalism of the society is brewing, they can calmly in their chambers make wise decision. Well, the very opposite happened here. This court was caught up in the social foolishness, and now they're actually reinforcing this foolishness. It's a landmark ruling when it comes to gender identity. And at the very heart of the case was the ever more contentious question, what is a woman? It's a good question. And it should be something easy enough to answer because people have been answering this question for thousands and thousands of years, century after century. And yet now we come to a point in the 21st century where not even the Supreme Court Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, Ketanji Brown, would even answer the question when it was asked to her at her confirmation hearing. Someone from the panel, a senator, asked, what is a woman? And here is this judge, supposedly wise, supposedly rational, sitting on the Supreme Court justice, saying, well, I'm not a biologist, I don't know. So she's going to defer to the biologist to be able to define that question. So this is Joe Biden's Supreme Court pick, and she was confirmed, and she's on the court now, a judge on the Supreme Court who cannot even tell people what a woman is. This is the height of absurdity. But now back to Australia. In 2021, Tickle, that's the man dressed like a woman, downloaded Giggle for Girls, an app marketed as an online refuge for women to share their experience in a safe space and where men are not allowed. So it excludes men. If you're a man, it's not your place. It's for women to talk to women. But this dude, this guy, this man, downloaded Giggles for Girls, and he wants to be a part of the ladies' conversation. In order to gain access, he had to upload a selfie to prove he was a woman, which was assessed by gender recognition software designed to screen out men. However, 7 months later, after successfully joining the platform, his membership was revoked. And what happened was they had a manual reviewer look over the claims and said, no, that's a man. That's not a woman. And they're right. It's not a woman. It's a man. So he wants to be seen as a woman. He wants to be identified as a woman, but that doesn't change the fact that he is a man. You check on his physical appearance. You check on his DNA. You check on all of the objective biological markers. He's a man. And just because he says he's a woman, it doesn't make it so. As someone who identifies as a woman, Tickle claimed he was legally entitled to use services meant for women, and that he was discriminated against based on his gender identity. Okay, so he's going to claim that they're not honoring my self-proclamation. They're not honoring my pronouns. They're not honoring my self-description. In other words, it's all about him. It doesn't matter what women think. It doesn't matter what biology, reality, science says. He's going to say, well, even though every objective measurement, I'm a man, I want to be known as a woman, so you need to identify me as a woman because that's what I want. This is the height of narcissism. It's called solipsism, where a person is just caught up in themselves and they have no objective reality outside of their own ego. And this is what he's involved in. Okay, he sued the social media platform as well as its CEO, Sal Grover, and sought damages amounting to 200,000 Australian dollars, claiming that persistent misgendering by Grover had prompted constant anxiety and occasional suicidal thoughts. So he's blaming his mental problems on the dating app and the business boss, Sal Grover. So Sal Grover is the owner and operator of Giggle. It's an all-woman's app. And this dude in a woman's dress is suing her because she's discriminating against him. Grover's public statements about me and this case have been distressing, demoralizing, embarrassing, draining, and hurtful. Yeah, she's not going along with his twisted reality. She's not going along with the illusion that he's a woman. She's not buying into his delusion. And that caused him pain, yes. This has led to individuals posting hateful comments toward me online and indirectly inciting others to do the same, Tickle said in an affidavit. Yes, if you act stupid and foolish in front of other people, they're going to make fun of you, and that's good. That's called social peer pressure to do good. Giggle's legal team argued throughout the case that sex is a biological concept. Exactly. Sex is a biological concept. There are objective measurements. And this is what I dealt with before in talking about in the Olympics that just recently finished. There were two male boxers. They have the markers of male. So they shouldn't be allowed to compete. Why? Because sex is an objective thing. And if there's question, if there's ambiguity, if there is a mixed message from the biological markers, then the person should not be allowed to fight or box in the women's division. There shouldn't be women boxers anyway. I mean, I think I failed to say that in the video last time. There shouldn't be women boxers, period. This is not a women's sport. We don't want women beating up on women in public. It's bad enough when women get into fights, cat fights in school. We've seen all that on the street sometimes. You see a women's fight. It's an ugly thing. It's not part of a society we want to have. Okay, they freely concede that Tickle was discriminated against, yes, but on the grounds of sex rather than gender identity. Refusing to allow Tickle to use the app constituted lawful sex discrimination, they say. Exactly. The app is designed to exclude men. That's okay. That is okay. There are times when women are excluded from men's locker rooms. That's okay. And because its founder perceives Tickle to be male, not just perceives, it's a biological fact. This is what bothers me with the journalistic reporting. They want to interject that, that Tickle is a male, that's someone's perception. No, it's reality, it's science, it's objective reality. It's not just an opinion, it's not a subjective feeling. This CEO of Tickle does not just feel that of Giggle, does not just feel that Tickle is a male, it's that he is a male. She argues that denying her access to the app was lawful. Okay. But Justice Robert Bromwich said in his decision on Friday that case law has consistently found sex is changeable. Sex is changeable and not necessarily binary, ultimately dismissing Giggle's argument. Sex is changeable. Oh, so a male can actually change sexes. So the XY chromosome can actually change into an XX chromosome, right? No. Oh, so puberty of a male can be actually changed into puberty of a female just by declaring it. No. So what in the world is he talking about? This is the insanity that has now reached its heights, where you have justices, supposedly wise people, making absurd statements. No, sex is not changeable. You cannot change. You can change body parts. You can sew on male body parts, or you can remove male body parts, and you can do cosmetic surgery. But you cannot actually change the sex of a person. Sex is not changeable. Sex is a biological fact. Tickle said the ruling shows that all women are protected from discrimination. All women, yeah, they are. They should be, but you're not a woman. So why should you be protected from discrimination of women if you're not a woman? And that he hoped the case would be healing for transgender diverse people. No, it will only reinforce their sickness. That's the problem. Unfortunately, we got the judgment we anticipated. The fight for women's rights continues, Grover wrote on X, responding to the decision. So they're going to continue to fight this, and hopefully they prevail. Sanity prevails, hopefully. Known as Tickle versus Giggle, it's kind of an absurdity. The case is the first time alleged gender identity discrimination has been heard by the federal court in Australia. It encapsulates how one of many acrimonious ideological debates, trans inclusion versus sex-based rights, can play out in court. Sex-based rights. Now we're having to define things in terms of sex-based rights. We're such a foolish culture that we've departed from God's word so much, departed from Christian truth so much, that now these are up for debate. Everybody has treated me as a woman. Tickle was born male, but changed his gender, and has been living as a woman since 2017. Oh, so 7 years? Living as a woman, or trying to make himself look like a woman, or identify as a woman, or using female pronouns. Changed his gender. When giving evidence to the court, he said, up until this instance, everybody has treated me as a woman. Yeah, because they didn't want to challenge your insanity. But finally, someone said, hey, the emperor has no clothes. This is a lie. You're living a lie. No, we're not going to buy into your lie. Reality bites. I do, from time to time, get frowns and stares and questions looking, which is quite disconcerting, but they'll let me go about my business. Okay, that's right. If you don't bother anyone and you're not a problem, then people will do that. But if you want to intrude on women's conversations and their spaces, yeah, that's a problem. But Grover believes no human being has or can change sex, which is the pillar of the gender-critical ideology. It isn't that Grover just believes a human being cannot change their sex. They can't. Show me one person who has wiped away their XX chromosome and become XY chromosome, or vice versa. Show me that. When Tickle's lawyer, Georgina Costilla, KC, cross-examined Grover, she said, even where a person who was assigned male at birth transitioned to a woman by having surgery, hormones, gets rid of facial hair, undergoes facial reconstruction, grows their long hair, wears makeup, wears female clothes, describes himself as a woman, introduces themselves as a woman, uses female changing rooms, changes his birth certificate. You don't accept that as a woman? No. Because they're not. In other words, you can put makeup on a pig, but you can't make a pig pretty. You can put women's clothes on a man, but you don't make him a woman. She also said she would refuse to address Tickle as Ms. and that Tickle is a biological male. Here's the brave CEO of Giggle. And she's standing up against the whole woke leftist crowd. Grover is a self-declared TERF, which stands for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminist. Okay, so this woman is actually a feminist, so she's a liberal. But she's saying, nope, I am not going that far. So her own side is going too far for her. Typically used as a derogatory term for those considered hostile to transgender people. Yeah, they don't want transgender people to dictate the terms of reality. It has also been claimed by some to describe their own gender-critical beliefs. I'm being taken to federal court by a man who claims to be a woman because he wants to use a woman's only space I created. Exactly. It's so clear. There isn't a woman in the world who'd have to take me to court to use this woman-only space. It takes a man for this case to exist. Exactly. So it's really great and refreshing to see the liberals fighting amongst themselves. It's like J.K. Rowling's fighting against the gender ideology. She says she created her app Giggle for Girls in 2020 after receiving a lot of social media abuse by men while she worked in Hollywood as a screenwriter. I wanted to create a safe, women-only space in the palm of your hand. It is a legal fiction that Tickle is a woman. It is. It is exactly true. His birth certificate has been altered from male to female, but he is a biological man and always will be. Exactly. So now the feminists are starting to understand the Judeo-Christian understanding of reality, and they're beginning to say, hey, that makes sense. We are taking a stand for the safety of all women's spaces, but also for the basic reality of truth, which the law should reflect. Grover has previously said that she would appeal against the court's decision and will fight the case all the way to the High Court of Australia. So this is interesting to see the leftists fight amongst themselves. This owner of Giggle is a leftist, and she buys into a lot of the secular humanistic arguments, but arbitrarily, she's like, well, I won't go that far. No, this has to be just for women. But your side is arguing that women can become men and men can become women. And so she's going against the leftist liberal ideology. So it's interesting to see this squabble and to see who's on what side. And as Christians, we sit back and we look at all of this and we just say the insanity continues. If you abandon biblical truth, if you abandon God's truths as expressed in the Bible, this is what happens. This is exactly what happens. The Bible says that he made them male and female, created them male and female. Adam and Eve were their names, the original two persons. One woman, Eve. One man, Adam. And from there, the entire human race grew and developed. There is no third sex, and you cannot change your sex. Now, there are abnormalities, like in the case of perhaps some of these boxers in the Olympics, where there is some kind of confusion due to either deformed sexual organs on a male or a female, or underdeveloped sexual organs on a male or a female, or there could be some situations, a combination of male and female sexual organs in very rare cases. But that doesn't eliminate the truth that a person is born either a male or a female. And this man, clearly a man, is trying to cut in and intrude on a legitimate women's only space. And there are other instances of this occurring in a women's locker room, in a girls' locker room, in school. These boys want to intrude on the women's locker room. This should not be. This is so basic. This is so simple. You don't need to be a trained judge. You don't need to be going to college and getting a PhD in criminal justice. You don't need a law degree. You don't need some kind of highfalutin, sophisticated, advanced learning to know that it's wrong for men like this dude to intrude into women's spaces. And what it's going to take is Christian women, especially, but also women of all types and beliefs, to object and say, no, we will not stand for this. It's the same way in the locker rooms. It's going to take mothers and the girls themselves to say at the high school and college level, no, we will not compete if you're going to allow men into our competitions. If you're going to allow Leah Thomas, so-called, into the swimming competition, all the girls should quit, boycott. Say, nope, we're not swimming against a man. There is a men's division, he should go there. And just because he thinks or feels or wants or desires to be identified as a woman doesn't make it so. And so the women, if you want to stand up for something and you want to take back power, start doing it at this basic level and say, no, we will not go along with this insanity. Women need to stand up against this and not let it happen. So many are letting it happen, and Christian women especially need to speak out against this. Well, I hope that's clarified things, but we'll see you back next week on another edition. God bless.